The opinions expressed on this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Cable 14, its sponsors, or its shareholders, Cogeco Cable, Shaw Cable, and Source Cable Limited.
And welcome to the September 20th edition of the Opinionators, the political show with an opinion bent. And let's meet our panel right now. Tara Crugnale, representing the Progressive Conservative Party.
Hi there, Larry.
And Ron Corsini of the Liberal Party. And representing the NDP, of course, it's Alex Johnstone. Welcome to you all.
Thank you, Larry.
Panel, we have a very full agenda tonight, and we're going to begin with a story that really is breaking news. Right out of Queen's Park, we are learning, and this one is for you, Tara, that the McGuinty government is taking strong action to control spending and eliminate the deficit, this is their press release, mind you, by capping executive compensation and freezing pay for public sector managers. Is there substance here, or are they just getting ready for an election? Tara?
I think it's a little bit of both. It was something that we could all see coming, especially with the stories that were coming up just before the by-elections of so many public service employees at the top levels getting bonuses, and more were getting bonuses than not. And then what's the point of the bonus system? And when we talk about capping their salaries, I think it's going to be capped at $418,000, so we don't have to cry a river for anybody. I think that's a substantial amount of money. That's about all that we should be spending for public sector employees, and I applaud them for what they're doing. Now, they are suggesting that they're taking this is a page from Andrea Horwath's playbook, so I can see them kind of going and trying to grab some of the NDP support that, wasn't there for them in the by-election.
Alex, that's a segue right to you. Your party has got to be happy with this. $418,000, Tara's absolutely right, but it's twice the pay of what the Premier makes, no more than that, less than that if possible. What do you think?
Well, actually, my understanding was that it's capped at equal to the Premier's pay. That's what's coming across the news right now. But the Andrea Horwath and the NDP, we're very happy that McGuinty is finally listening to us, listening to our certainly our platform from the last few elections, that we need to start capping these ginormous salaries, especially when we're looking for austerity measures everywhere else in the province with our everyday workers. I think, though, that, as Tara pointed out, that these wages are still very, very large. We're looking at over $400,000, and there certainly could be a lot bigger cuts done, not just putting a cap.
Well, I'm so happy that this news came out. I'm happy that it's not only the teachers and doctors that are being asked to tighten their belts, and all the other workers in the government are asked to do the same thing. So these people, these managers and bureaucrats that are earning huge salaries, I think that they should be asked the same thing too. And I'm glad this happened. And this is something that has long been been going on. I mean, you look at some of these salaries and you say, oh my God, how? You can't live on $400,000.
You know what? The other side of the coin, the other argument, though, is that in order to attract people to the public sector,
yes.
you need to
give them. You need the
them,
best of the best.
Yeah, exactly. And when you're looking at the CEO of a hospital, it's not one hospital; it's like all five that they're looking after. So I understand in that respect that you're trying to get most bang for your dollar and you're trying to attract the best. But clearly, $418,000 should be.
The competition is fierce out there.
But just to make that clear, it's up to $418,000.
Yes.
Not everybody will make that.
Oh no, and actually, there will be some that will make will be making a smidgen more, because those that are grandfathered in will be as such. These are just for new hires, I believe.
But the government's going to save $12 million this year.
Yes,
Alex?
we are going to be saving $12 million. I think, though, where Tara's pointing out that we need to be attracting the best of the best, we need to look at the fact that over the last 30 years, CEOs in the public sector, their wages have gone up 300%. And are they working 300% harder? Are they doing a better job than they were 30 years ago?
Well, that was the issue with the bonus system.
I think that we need to look at the fact that we haven't seen those wage increases at any other level of society. You know, can you imagine if plumbers, you know, said
in the private sector,
we're not going
sector,
to.
Those guys make big money too.
Well, can you imagine if plumbers as a group said that we're not going to do our job unless you increase our wages by 400%, or if anyone else acted that way, it's considered unacceptable.
You know what? It's just something that you find in the public sector, because unfortunately, some people feel entitled to a certain wage, or they're part of a group where you know you already have that pay scale going up, and so you just automatically get to that next level.
As long as you don't say that 47% of Canadians feel entitled, let's change the channel on this one. And this one's going to you, Alex, and it has to do with federal politics. As we know, the House is back in session now. But what happened over the summer was that Mr. Harper's party, the Progressive or the Conservatives,
drop the Progressive.
Yeah, okay, but they've actually inched up in the polls. Mr. Mulcair and your party were doing quite well, but over the summer, the Conservatives are enjoying a bump, and they've got this sweet majority as well. How is Mr. Mulcair going to handle them?
Well, I think that there's a number of different issues coming to the forefront. I did see the poll that you're referring to, the Harris Decima. A day later, Nanos published a poll that the difference between the New Democrats and the Conservatives wasn't quite as big as it was only, I think, a 2% difference. So there is, you know, varying polls out there. But in terms of the year to come, I think that one of the beautiful things about the NDP is they are able to apply pressure to the government by getting the public informed, getting the public's opinion out there. We saw, you know, Toews reverse on his crime bill regarding the internet because there was enormous swell of public pressure against the bill. And I think that the NDP is very good at that. You don't necessarily need a majority to get things done.
Well, at the same time, you want to go?
Yeah, let's go with Ron.
All right, we'll let Ron jump in. With the third party.
Well, and let me preface it exactly that way, Ron. The two polls, and Alex is right, the Nanos poll is a little different from Harris Decima, but they all show that the Liberals are still languishing. How are they going to approach this session?
Well, I think that right now we are rebuilding the party. So I believe that they're going to come out fighting. And don't underestimate them at all, because once this new leader is picked for the Liberal Party, you are going to see them surge in the polls. The honeymoon is over for the NDP. And it was, you know, the popularity was soaring just after the election, the leadership election, and everyone was talking about the Orange Crush. Well, that's all old news now. And
what makes you think that?
Oh, because
Orange Crush happened in Quebec, and Quebec's not being too nice to the rest of the country right now.
No one's talking about it, and
we're still high in the polls across Canada. So
well,
I'm just curious.
Because nobody has to vote for you right now.
Ron, finish your point. Have you finished?
Well, the point is that you know, we still are rebuilding our party, and we will come out victorious.
Okay, fair enough.
How many years is it going to take you to rebuild your party?
Well, how many years did it take
it didn't take that long. It didn't take that long because we had two parties merge, and look where we are now. We've actually been on the top in Canada for 7 years.
So is Mr. Harper going to take things for granted? They're doing well in the polls. They still have their majority. Is he simply going to coast? How is he going to try to protect his flanks?
He's not going to coast. I don't think that we've done that at all. We're putting forth policies that we were elected to do. If something comes up to the forefront and we seem to backstep from it, it's because we're listening to the people of Canada, not because we have to, because we're in a minority situation. We're in a very comfortable majority, and I think we are governing as such, and very respectfully of the other parties.
No, I think it's much different than that. The Conservatives, you know, they want a majority. It's not a big majority. They're always campaigning because the public doesn't trust them. And
if we did reverse, if they didn't trust them,
if you have a
reverse
in your policy, in your opinion, it's because you're worried about the public, the enormous public backlash, and it's not because you're trying to listen. If that was the case,
we're about the will of the people, Alex. So if there was some sort of backlash, we corrected our policy to be what more
is Taos going to be bringing that bill back again this year?
I don't think he is, because we heard what the people wanted, and as Conservatives, we listened to that.
Well, we'll see how that plays out.
All right. Well, let's go back to the provincial level, and we're going to come to you with this one, Ron, and it has to do with the strategy that the teachers are employing now that the legislation has been passed, capping their salaries and freezing their wages. It seems as if they have no other recourse but really to take some action at the school level, and they've been withdrawing from extracurriculars, and they've been withdrawing from what is usually an extra added attraction to being a student in school, which therefore targets student activities. Yeah. Is this going to curry favor with the parents and the students, Ron?
Absolutely not. It's not currying favor with parents out there, the general public that is does not work in education, and the students. This whole slogan is "We put students first" or "Students come first" is bull, because it doesn't. They're using students as pawn. I know at my school, at St. Vincent de Paul, our great staff is operating as usual. They're doing all the extracurricular activities, and this is just in the public school system in Ontario, and are protesting the legislation that was just passed last week. But it's the students that are suffering.
Well, Alex, again, I keep mentioning the fact that you happen to be a school trustee as well. And in Toronto, some of the teachers have told parents who've agitated, parents groups who've agitated in schools about the lack of activities, to stay back, stay out of this fight. It's between us and the government. What are your teachers doing at your board, and how would you react if that message were being delivered by teachers in your system?
Well, Larry, I think that what's important to highlight here is that a lot of the work to rule initiatives are going on across Ontario outside of Hamilton. We haven't really seen as many work to rule initiatives taking place. There is some schools here in Hamilton, but not like we're seeing, say, in Toronto. I think what's important to look at here is that teachers is a profession volunteer the most compared to any other profession in Ontario and in Canada. And for every single class of 22 students, we have 44 parents presumably out there, and this is volunteer hours, and I'd like to see more of our community getting involved in volunteering.
We do. We have parents at our school that come out and volunteer their time. There are many parents that come out and volunteer.
But you know what, Ron?
Sometimes you get a school that doesn't have the staff there to do all the soccer, the basketball,
but let me just say, and what's going
to
be interesting to see is that clearly the Dalton McGuinty government is not going to be backing down from this.
I don't think so.
They have the support of the Conservatives in this respect, and this has passed. Now, how long will the teachers continue their protest? Because they're not going to win this fight. So either but they're not going to win it because
there's a court challenge, Tara.
And we'll have to see how that goes. I don't know how long the teachers can continue this when they're trying to garner support from the parents. They need the support of the parents. They need other people other than teachers to be calling their MPPs.
The courts don't make it
to say that this is wrong to do or impose on the teachers. There is a giant advertising campaign that the teachers are putting forth right now. Everywhere I look, there's pictures of Dalton McGuinty all in red, and look at what he's done to
Tara,
us.
Let me give it the spin, and I'll give each of you a chance to weigh in on this. I was in a school as a principal when the Harris protests were occurring. And let me tell you, it's not fun for principals.
No.
It's not fun for teachers. It certainly wasn't fun for parents and students as well. And even though the teachers participated in the protest, you know that they were, because most of them coach or participate in extracurriculars because they love that. So Mr. Harris looked at actually defining a teacher's job in extracurriculars not as a volunteer activity, but as a mandatory part of their job. Then they backed away from that. What should Mr. Hudak be advising the government to do, or if he were premier, around that? Because if it's volunteer, and I decide not to do it, why are you criticizing me?
Well, no, I agree with you, Larry. Like the fact that it's volunteer, and I commend the teachers that put the time forward. If they're not being paid for those activities, then by all accounts, it's their right to do it or not to do it. Not all teachers do it, but they do it because of a love of the job, a love of the students.
They do it for
But
the students.
at the same time, when they're taking that away from the students, who are they hurting? They're only hurting the students at this
The
point.
teachers
Well, we
have
have-
nothing left, though.
So
Larry.
go ahead, Alex.
I think that we've taken away, or the McGuinty has taken away their right to strike. They have no labor rights. They have been taken away for the next 2 to 3 years. This is their only opportunity to show their frustration.
But the target is the kid. Is
Well,
that
it's not.
fair?
It is the government, but they don't have any other tool.
I understand.
In a normal world, and certainly in the United States, if you have a problem, and in any other profession or almost any other profession, you're able to strike if you don't like the contract that is.
No, but Alex, I believe
rights have been taken away from me
I think that
as a
teaching.
CUPE
Well,
member.
you guys.
A protected service.
Quick word from Ron, then we have to
It's
move to lightning
affecting
round.
me, the legislation too, because I'm a member of CUPE, and our rights are being taken away from us also. We're not allowed to strike. We're not those same
And you're
issues.
okay with that?
Well, no, I'm
What's
not okay.
wrong
I'm
with
not
you?
okay with that.
Well,
I'm not
then-
okay with that, and that's I wore black to school in day in protest.
you?
I did, but I did not let it harm my job. Especially for the students, where it pertains to the students. The students were there. We got teachers that go on overnight trips with kids camping or to Ottawa trips, and these teachers leave their.
You've gone to Ottawa since school has started?
No, but every year we go to Ottawa. The Ottawa
Yes,
trip
but
is
that's-
later
that's
on.
usually
but
in
teachers
the
are not
school.
paid for those 2 days that they leave their families.
No, but
and
that
a number of them
hasn't happened.
have
That
two
hasn't
children.
happened since the new rules have come in place.
No, but it's
All right.
going to happen.
Listen,
I mean,
we're going to have to leave it at that. It is complicated. Your points are all well taken. But as much as we may not like it, the students and the parents are affected, and that's part of the argument
Absolutely.
here as well. Listen, we're on the lightning round, which means you get a chance to speak on a number of topics. And the first one will come to you, Alex. It has to do with the gas plants, which were canceled just before the last election. And Mr. McGuinty and his government have conceded, really, that they did it because the people in those areas objected. And so for political reasons, they were trying to save some seats, which they did. And of course, because they had contracts, they're being sued. And there are some negotiations around how to settle that lawsuit. Documents are in place, I'm sure in the files of the government, that the NDP and the Conservatives want released now.
Yeah.
Should they be released now, even though, as the government says, it may cost the taxpayers more by interfering with negotiations?
Absolutely. What does McGuinty have to hide? And that's all I have to say about that.
I don't think
Ron?
we're hiding anything. I think that the negotiations that are ongoing as we speak are very delicate, and it's true that if some of the material, some of the information is out there, it could cost the taxpayer more money. We are doing our job as protectors of this province
You
by doing the
cancel-
right thing and keeping this information private until all the negotiations are done with, and then you'll find
The
out what
government
happens.
has said, Tara, that they will release the documents.
Yeah.
It's
But
not that they
not now.
won't, but not now.
You know what? You might as well release them now. They canceled the gas plants a year ago. I can't believe that these negotiations are dragging on this long.
you know how
and I'm
government
assuming
works.
that the government is the one that's dragging their feet. They wanted to get this past 2 by-elections without releasing the documents. Who knows when they're going to trigger a snap election next. I don't think that they want these documents to be released. Dwight Duncan, I could not believe it. When we found out that this would cost us money because these gas plants were canceled, he said, well, you voted for us, so in voting for us,
Okay.
you said yes. We're
All
going
right.
to pay
They
for
did
it.
the right thing.
Right. We're going to stay with you on this one, Tara.
All
It
right.
has to do with the PQ government, the new PQ government in Quebec. And of course, the very first thing that Premier Madame Marois did in Quebec was take down the Canadian flag. And, is this a sign that the
disgusting.
sovereignty debate is going to raise its ugly head yet again?
Yeah, it
and
already
what do you
has.
think should happen in the House of Commons.
Well, you know, back in the day, people that, I don't know back in the day, but I think these people are traitors to Canada and should be dealt with accordingly. I've got no problem saying it. I know that the Canadian flag only hung there in Quebec for the 9 years when Jean Charest and the Liberals were in government, and before that it wasn't up either. I demand that they put that Canadian flag up, and I demand that either, you know, they put up or shut up. You know, you want to be part of Canada, be part of Canada.
Yeah, exactly. If you want all the benefits of being part of Canada with everything that everyone enjoys in this country, then put the flag back up. I remember going to Quebec City before Jean Charest was in power and said, what country am I in? I felt I was like a foreigner in my own country because I couldn't see my flag flying. It's despicable.
Alex.
Well, I think that Harper's going to have to rely on Moncler to help rebuild some relations, and I think that that's where Moncler certainly has a strength, is he'll be working with the province of Quebec and to try and to resolve some of those issues that unfortunately Harper just doesn't have the skill set to do.
But Moncler reiterated that separation was fine with 50+1% in Quebec.
Yeah, he did say that. That's unfortunate. It's another topic.
I jumped in. It's my apologies.
Yeah, no, that's fine. We're going to come to you, Ron. This is another topic that has to do again with the provincial level, where John Tory in one of the television programs was musing that Mr. McGuinty may be resigning by as early as December of this year. There are all kinds of rumors at Queen's Park, and the reason for that is that the polls look dismal. The NDP and the Conservatives are doing well. Might this be an opportunity for Mr. McGuinty to exit, or is this just political thought?
Right now, these are rumors only. There is a leadership review coming up at the end of this month, I believe, and at that time, the party will decide what they would want to do. I still think that Mr. McGuinty has a lot of support in his caucus and within the party to carry on.
Tara, what do you think?
Well, they've gone through quite a few issues over the past few months, and I think that it would be unwise for Dalton McGuinty to step down at this time because it would show weakness within his party. So while I might not be upset to see him go, I think he has to stay for the good of the Liberal Party.
Alex.
My bet is that you will see an election within a year, and at that time, McGuinty will probably either lose his, I think that he could become a second-place party or have another minority, and at that time you'll see a leadership race.
All right. And the very last topic, very quick on this, it has to do with the monarchy and the fact that it seems as if there's always a scandal, if you want to call it that, of sorts. And we'll start with you on this, Ron. Prince Harry, of course, was caught cavorting in the nude.
I mean, you know what?
And hang on, let me just say, and poor, wonderful Kate Middleton, you know, some pictures were published in Europe, hopefully not in Canada, I don't think, but in Europe, of her topless in a private time, private moment on a balcony and so on. What do you think of that? Well,
I think that it's ridiculous, and I think I don't want another Diana situation to happen with Kate. I think the press needs to back off, and people need to back off of the royal family. They need to have some privacy and some fun. I mean, they're human. Yeah. And leave them alone, for crying out loud. I like them, and I like them with their clothes on.
Well put. Alex?
I think this topic is stupid, personally, and I think that we should be talking about much more important issues rather than celebrity gossip, such as CETA, which is being negotiated this week. It's a fair trade agreement with Europe, and I think that that's where we should be focusing our conversation.
You know,
so do you think Canadians would rather talk about CETA or
yeah, I think we'd like to talk about something else instead. But you know what? The Queen is on our money, so it is an important topic to Canadians, and I think that we have to hold the monarchy to a higher regard than the regular celebrity. And I don't like that pictures like this show up online or in a paper.
And that's the point, not to titillate, but certainly to sympathize. To sympathize with
Prince
people
Edward
who are being taken advantage of.
I saw him on James
Listen,
Street.
it's my turn now.
All right,
it's my turn, and I want to talk about Supercrawl. I'm sure if you're like me, you were on James Street this past weekend, and were impressed, not only because there were lots of people there. Some of the estimates are 50, 60, 70,000 people, and I certainly can attest to huge crowds, although I don't know the number. But the fact that there was something for everybody. The arts were on display. There was food galore. There were activities everywhere you looked, and some big name stars were performing. Musicians were performing as well. But I happen to think that the biggest winner, the biggest star of the weekend was James Street itself. What do you think?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. We had so many big names out. We had Kanan this weekend. I saw it blowing up on Twitter, on all kinds of social media sites. Certainly, you know, Hamilton needs to be bringing in more tourists, bringing in more attention, and this draws in, you know, individuals from across Ontario who are interested in attending this event.
Well, I have a vested interest on James Street. I grew up on James Street was my hood, was my playground. And yeah, and to see all these people, I don't know who told them to come down to the street, though. I've never seen that many people there before like that. But it was fantastic. I had a really good time, saw people that I grew up with. It was like a big James Street North End reunion. It was fantastic.
And people complimented the little alley and some property, I think, that your family owns right on James.
Yes.
Complimented that how
Maria's little
beautiful
alley.
Yeah, it is.
You know, it's a celebration of the grassroots, and I congratulate them. I remember back in 2005 going just to, you know, the art crawl when it was a smaller thing, and now, you know, it's blown up. We need things like this on Locke Street, on Ottawa Street, downtown Dundas. We have so many great small communities on streets, and we just have to explore it and go further with it.
And we will congratulate Tim Podesic as well and his crew for putting on Supercrawl. And listen, we're out of time for this week. Thank you for watching. This has been The Opinionator. We'll see you a week from today when we'll talk about important topics and maybe some that aren't so important yet again. Thanks for watching.
Tara Cronali's Hair by Ludi Mamoda Hair and Aesthetic Studio, 169 James Street North in downtown Hamilton.